Welcome to another episode of my Wheel of Time reread on Reading the Pattern. We'll be talking about The Eye of the World, chapters 10 through 13, in which we make a mad dash out of the two rivers, and not one but two of our Emmons Fielders start channeling. If you're new to the channel and haven't already watched my video introducing the series, you can check it out here. But basically, it's like CliffNotes. I'll be summarizing the chapters and then breaking down the themes, the characters, fun bits of foreshadowing, etc. Also check out my previous videos in this series. This video may include spoilers for all Wheel of Time books. If you have not finished reading the series and do not want to be massively spoiled, stop here or proceed at your own risk. As these chapters begin, our group departs Emmons Field and makes their way with as much haste as possible to the village of Taren Ferry, where they cross the river Taren, and from there through woods and country they arrive in the small city of Baerlon. Let's review the notebook of our favorite Ogier to remind ourselves what happened in these chapters. Rand, Mat, and Perrin prepare to leave Emmons Field with Moiraine and Lan, but before they can leave the stable, Egwene catches up and announces that she is joining them, and Moiraine agrees, since, quote, it is part of the pattern now. Tom appears from the loft and insists on joining their party. Although Rand tries to convince Egwene not to come, he does offer up his horse Bella for her to ride, and they are off. They are barely out of the village when Rand sees a strange flying shape, which Lan identifies as a Draghkar, a shadow spawn, and they are forced to gallop. As the group flees through the night, Rand is terrified that Bella will not be able to keep up, and Egwene will be left behind to the shadow spawn pursuing them. They make it to Watch Hill, the next village, in no time, but as they stop for Moiraine to wash the fatigue away from the horses, the Draghkar catches up and they are forced to race on. Moiraine is able to channel fog to help hide them as they run. It is still night when they arrive in the village of Taren Ferry and wake the ferryman. Lan demands the ferryman take them across the river immediately, offering a hefty bribe. The ferryman appears with 6 large men, and led by Lan, the boys and Tom show off their weapons. After making it across the river, Moiraine pays the men, but the ferry suddenly sinks into a whirlpool in the river, leaving the ferryman and his crew stranded on the north side of the river. Lan pays him even more to compensate him for his loss, and the group continues on. Moiraine has made the fog conceal the river heading both east and west to confuse the Myrddraal as they continue on north. They find a place Lan had prepared where they can rest out of sight. While they are stopped, Moiraine gives Egwene her first lesson on the One Power, because Egwene too has the ability to channel. Moiraine guides Egwene in her first touching of the source, and Egwene, thrilled, tells Rand she will become an Aes Sedai. Over the next week, the group travels at a slower pace, trying to avoid being seen. On their stops, Lan begins training the boys with their weapons. They all can use Mat's bow with surprising skill, but Perrin is as new to his axe as Rand is to his sword. There is tension in the group, especially between Rand and Egwene, who have a shouting match over her eagerness to embrace becoming an Aes Sedai. When the boys seem not to take their danger seriously, Moiraine threatens to, quote, destroy them, rather than let the Dark One have them. Moiraine continues Egwene's nightly lessons in the power, and Rand is disturbed enough by it to eavesdrop on them. They arrive in the small city of Baerlon and learn that a group of the Children of the Light, commonly known as White Cloaks, are also there. Moiraine and Lan go by false names, but are well received at an inn called the Stag and Lion. Let's take a look at all the fascinating details and hints of what is to come in Robert Jordan's master plan. At the end of this book, we learn that Rand is able to channel, and that Moiraine knew one of the boys could. She said she should have been able to figure out it was Rand, mostly based on things that happen in these chapters. While Mat and Perrin followed her instructions not to tell anyone about their departure, Rand disobeyed her and told Tam. He, unlike the others, is able to resist this subtle influence that she has over them since giving them the coins. We see the first instance of Rand channeling when they are escaping the Draghkar, though neither he nor we are aware of it yet. Quote, his skin prickled and his bones felt as if they were freezing, ready to split open. The light helped her run, and Bella ran. Rand, in his desperate fear for Egwene, is able to help keep Bella running, enough that Moiraine does not need to cleanse her of fatigue because Rand had already done it. When Egwene first embraces the source, Moiraine remarks that she will go far, perhaps even the Amyrlin seat, and of course she does, and probably far sooner than even Moiraine could have predicted. When Moraine mentions the Red Aja gentling men who can channel, Tom growls, and here is a hint of Tom's reasons for hating Aes Sedai. We later learn that Tom's nephew Owen was gentled by the Red Aja without trial, and like nearly all men who are gentled, Owen later died as a result. Finally, there are some further hints that Rand is the Dragon Reborn, as he is the one who questions Tom about the prophecies of the dragon, learning for the first time about the Stone of Tyr and Kalandor. Let's discuss the central themes and focal points that these chapters are woven around. For the first time, we get a lot of talk about the pattern, but we are still barely scratching the surface of what that means for the lives of our characters. We know that Moraine at least seems to think it means that certain things happen for a reason, such as Egwene and Tom joining their party unexpectedly. But we are introduced to the question of how much choice that leaves the characters. Egwene and Tom do seem to have some choice, as it is clearly their own decision to join the group. There's more at work here that we won't fully understand until we learn more about the nature of Ta'veren and the way they shape the pattern for those around them, but are themselves given much less freedom of choice than others. I do believe that Moraine emphasizes this difference to some extent in the different ways that she speaks to Egwene versus the boys. To Egwene, she says, quote, "The Aes Sedai you will find in Tar Valon are human, no different from any other woman except for the ability that sets us apart. They are brave and cowardly, strong and weak, kind and cruel, warm-hearted and cold. Becoming an Aes Sedai will not change you from what you are." Egwene may have no choice about whether to channel, but she can choose whether to become an Aes Sedai and who she will be at heart as well. To Rand, Mat, and Perrin, however, Moraine says she will not let them run off without her protection, and that they must choose either to continue on with her or run and hide for the rest of their short lives. Quote, "You have no choice." Rand thinks to himself that it is the Aes Sedai who have made that choice, but in reality it is the pattern. They do not yet know that they are Ta'veren, but here is the essence of that reality beginning to take shape. Let's break down the characters and their defining moments in these chapters. Egwene at this point is still largely viewed through the lens of Rand's perspective on her, and we will come to understand there's a lot he gets wrong about her. Still, we start to see some of her character-defining features in these chapters. There's the fact that she alone of the Emmonsfielders is truly eager to leave the Two Rivers. She seems to know that it is simply too small to contain her ambitions. Like all of the Two Rivers people, she displays a fierce independence and stubbornness. To Rand, she appears to thrill in the galloping flight of Bella, though we know from her later conversation with Moraine that she was also terrified. We learn that she asked Moraine about becoming an Aes Sedai before she even knew she had the ability and must learn to channel. This shows an unusual ability to overcome the prejudices that she was likely taught the same as the boys were. And perhaps Egwene's most defining feature is the way she throws herself into each new situation, adapting to it fully and always attempting to become the best at whatever she is doing. As soon as she learns she can channel, she becomes 100% committed to becoming Aes Sedai and is ready to shed her old identity by symbolically unbraiding her hair. This is what prompts her shouting match with Rand over whether Aes Sedai are dark friends. Of course, it is absurd for Rand or anyone to assume that all members of any group are evil. And Egwene, while still immature in a lot of ways, is wise enough to deliver this line, quote, "Forget the stories and use your eyes." Lastly, the line of Moraine's about Egwene becoming Amyrlin, I originally read as just a kind of obvious bit of foreshadowing, but on reflection, I think there actually is more to it. Of course, Moraine can already sense Egwene's great potential strength in the power, but more so, I think it is these qualities of Egwene's personality that would have led her to the Amyrlin seat eventually, if not for the unusual circumstances that placed her there long before she could have been expected to. Now, Tom remains a bit of a mystery so far, and for good reason, as there's a lot more to him than meets the eye. But the main thing I want to touch on here for Tom is what reasons he may have for wanting to join the party in the first place. We can speculate that it has a lot to do with the death of his nephew, and the fact that he remains haunted about being unable to protect him from the Red Aja. Now he sees 3 young men, and especially Rand, of about the same age, who are being pulled into an Aes Sedai's influence. He might think Moraine believes one or all of them can channel, but even if not, he clearly sees this as an opportunity to perhaps protect them in a way that he was not able to protect Owen. And the fact that Tom is willing to risk his own life against Shadow Spawn to protect 3 unknown boys says a lot about him. Let's talk about what we need to know about the Dark One and all of his minions and followers. Like most other Shadow Spawn, the Draghkar were made by a twisting of human stock. They appear as large men with bat-like wings, pale skin, and large eyes. They have a deadly crooning song which draws people in and suppresses their will. And they have an even deadlier kiss, which consumes first their victim's soul and then their life. I wonder if J.K. Rowling was inspired by Draghkar when she created Dementors. And now, let's find a little levity amidst the darkness. Here's a bit of iconic sarcasm from Lan with the line, quote, "I cannot make a mud-footed villager into a blade master in an hour, but perhaps I can keep you from slicing off your own foot." There's also some amusing subtleties in the interactions between Tom and Moiraine, but only after you realize that they are both masters at the game of houses and will eventually fall in love. Here, they are both gradually coming to realize how formidable the other is. Moiraine is impressed that Tom has knowledge of Shadow Spawn, but she shuts down his skepticism over her trick of obscuring the river. And when he realizes her cleverness, it's with a, "Whoa, my bad." And then when he tries to get out of letting her wash away his tiredness, she puts him in his place with a mocking smile. Thanks for continuing on with me in this reread journey of The Wheel of Time. Be sure to stay tuned and subscribe for my next video where I will delve into The Eye of the World chapters 14 through 17. Don't forget to let me know in the comments any favorite bits of foreshadowing or Isle humor that I've missed so I can give you a shout out in a future video. And whether you prefer flailing about with an axe or a sword, be sure to subscribe for more Wheel of Time content, including speculation about the Wheel of Time TV series on Amazon Prime. See you next time in Baerlon.